What's up, LinkedIn? Tegan Bartos here, and I am back with another powerful conversations for leaders who are ready to rise. Today, we are talking about something that I don't think gets addressed enough, which is probably a theme on the guests that I bring on to my live series. But what do you do when the room isn't built for you, but you still have to lead in it? I mean, ladies, this is probably for us. Fellas, you're welcome to stay. But we're going to be talking about a lot of what women and other minorities feel when they're in leadership roles. So while you're tuning in, go ahead and drop where you're tuning in from. Let me click on the chat. My guess. Oops. Hello. Okay, so joining me is Sima, an executive coach and a women's leadership expert who has helped countless women not just survive, but lead. Lead with strength, lead with presence in environments that often feel difficult or even toxic. Hello, who hasn't been there? And we are going to flip the script on what it really takes to be heard, respected, and recognized, especially when the usual rules just don't seem to apply. So Sima, tell me a little bit about what you do and how you support.
Well, Tegan, first, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here. I'm so excited to offer this and help, and because I think your introduction was just perfect about what challenges women and wider group of minorities face, right, in the workplace. So I support women leaders who are stuck in their career, and how that usually comes across is they're either told they're too direct or aggressive or angry or the B word, right? It can go to various levels. Or on the opposite side, women who are very accommodating, very people pleasing, they get all the projects and they don't get the promotions. And so, yeah, those are the people who come to me, right?
It's a red flag. The sirens are going. It's wrong.
I live in the middle of the country, so that's a little unusual. We deal with challenges. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Well, we've all had our fair share of those, right?
Yes,
so
we have.
You have had the privilege to work with so many women and so many powerful women in powerful seats. And it's kind of outrageous how many of them have navigated difficult and even toxic environments. And so what are some of the common emotional or communication challenges that you see come up time and time again?
Well, it's really a lot for me is this issue of being too direct.
Okay.
I think and it's for a couple of reasons. I think the people who are very, very people pleasing get stuck before they even get into leadership roles, right?
Yeah.
So at some point, it's clear that in order to be a leader, you have to be able to tell it like it is. And how that is received from women versus how that's received from men and others is different. So, I mean, it's shocking, for example, how many women are told they need to smile more, right? And yeah, I get that a lot. And you just think, would you ever say that to the guy? Like, it's just, so there are these very subtle differences. And I came from a leadership position myself. I was chief information officer in the United Nations Joint Program on HIV and AIDS before I pivoted into doing this. I was harassed. It was a giant thing. It went into the Me Too. It was public, the whole thing. And then I thought, I took what I wanted from this, to be able to mentor people. And I really realized that there's this, IT isn't very forgiving. It either works or it doesn't. And when it doesn't, everybody notices.
Yeah.
So I had to be clear. I had to be direct. And we even have a saying, right, that clarity is kind. And
Absolutely.
to garner the respect of people throughout the organization. I was serving 1,000 people in 90 countries. And garner that respect in a way where I was the authority in an area that, let's admit, most people are really afraid of, right? Like IT is not, people are.
It's intimidating. And then there's not very, I mean, if we're looking at stats, women are underrepresented in tech roles, let alone tech leadership roles.
Yeah. And so, I mean, I guess my lived experience helps me relate to, because you were asking about the women, my clients, that it helps them relate to me and me relate to them, because the patterns that I've been through are quite similar, and just constantly being, whether it's from being flirted with to, not being taken seriously and having to do the same work over and over and over again, not being able to get your point across, not understanding how to do that. And what I realized was that I was able to.
Yeah.
And it was kind of magic. And then when we had talked before, I explained how I had done this coaching training, and I realized, oh, what I do has names. I can explain this to other people because I was actually using techniques that I didn't even know were techniques that help avoid the whole problem of getting people, sort of shackles up to begin with, if that makes sense.
Well, when we were off camera, something that really struck with me is that not every woman has an option to leave these environments. And sometimes we need to lead from within them. And that's why communication works so well and is so important in these moments. So tell me a little bit about some of these techniques, these communication techniques that work to de-escalate or lead through tough conversations or environments so women can really get their power back.
Yeah. So there are 3 things that you want.
Okay.
You want
pen and paper.
Okay, right? 3. I draw it in circles when I'm training this, but there are 3 things. One circle is connection.
Okay.
Right. So you have to connect with the people, and there are ways to do that very, very quickly and at a subconscious level. Then the second one is you have to be able to be assertive. So, you need to be able to hold your boundaries and be clear. And the third part is authenticity, because you don't want to if you stay in a place that's not in alignment with yourself, you will burn out.
Oh, yeah.
So, right. And so I think in those situations where people are having to navigate difficult environments, it's really to understand, okay, which piece of those 3 things am I strong on? Most of us are quite strong. And which piece do I need to develop? And when you have all 3, then you can have the conversations and the transformative conversations. And it just takes one, by the way. Like when you get the one transformative conversation, they get behind you, you get the resources you want, you get, so it's a matter of practicing that and understanding. So some of it is how to build that immediate connection. Some of it is just like, if there's one tip, eliminate the word but from your vocabulary and use and instead. And this is something that I teach a lot. It's called the agreement frame. So it's I understand, or I respect, or no, not I understand. I respect, I agree, or I appreciate. We tend to say I understand, and that's not as strong as the other 3. So
okay, wait. I respect, I agree,
or I appreciate.
I
Yeah.
appreciate that you don't want to eat your peas. And you're going
And
to eat them.
exactly. And it
So
does.
anybody who's ever had to deal with little kids or aging loved ones that are suffering memory loss, these are also techniques that you can use in your day-to-day life. Okay, so I just got a text that there was like a little tech glitch. We are streaming. A bunch of people just entered the room. I can see this now. So for those of you tuning in, welcome, welcome, welcome. I have Sima here, who is an executive coach, writer, interviewer, and keynote speaker who specializes in coaching women on various communication techniques. She does a lot, but the communication stuff is really exciting. And she is talking about how powerful connection, assertiveness, which is like boundaries and being clear, and authenticity is to really lead through challenging situations. And we're always going to find those, right? So she was talking about the agreement frame using language like I respect, I agree, and I appreciate. And now you're caught up.
And so if you say one of those three things, and it forces you to think, it forces you to actually hear what the person said and find a point of agreement or something you can appreciate or something you can respect. And you have to, the image I have in my head, it's like a giant disco ball with 1,000 mirrors, right? And you're looking at the stuff that's reflecting on your side, and they're looking at the stuff that's reflecting on their side. And it's the same ball, it's the same room. You're just capturing different pieces of it in your attention. Yeah. So if you can, in your imagination, understand a little bit, where are they coming from? Like, why are they stressed? You know, what is behind this? And then say, hey, you know, I respect that you really need this by Friday. And if I push to do that, I'm going to have to drop this other thing that we've all agreed is even more important. So can we find a solution? It immediately brings both of you on the same page, right? On the same side of trying to find the solution, and it stops the person from being defensive. Like if you receive a but, you're immediately tuned out. You're immediately tuned out. You've negated everything that the person just said. Hey, I hear you, but it means I don't care, right? If you give an and
101.
Yeah. And that it's really just super, super powerful. So these are the kinds of techniques that I teach, and I get so much pushback of, Sima, you're trying to teach women how to be soft and to pussyfoot around. I'm like, no, let's just use tools that are at the disposal of coaches and salespeople and all kinds of people that haven't been brought into the leadership context yet, to empower us to get our messages through, because clearly they're not.
Yeah.
You know?
And there's so much power in language, and we can really shift beliefs depending on how you position things and how you categorize or establish certain boundaries or initiatives and things of that nature. So can you walk me through like a real life moment when someone could use something in like a high stakes situation? Maybe it's a meeting or a one-on-one where things could have gone sideways, but the language that we replace de-escalates things and get people back on your side.
Yeah. I tell this story, and so I will do the short version for you. I happened to me 18 months ago, Tegan. I was hired by one of the funding agencies here in Geneva to go to a country in Asia and help with their budget. They had a IT budget that they couldn't bring together, and I had that background, and they were really struggling with it. So I got all ready. Got on the plane. I'd never been there before. I was literally looking up, like, is it okay to wear sandals? Because it's going to be 35 Celsius there, right? And 90 Fahrenheit or something. And so I get there, and I get to this first meeting, and we're supposed to have this onboarding call with the man who's in charge, who couldn't get his budget together. So this could have been quite threatening to him, right? Because this
absolutely
overseas consultant is showing up for 2 weeks to fix
Tell
it.
you how to do your job.
So I called him Dr. Anu. So Dr. Anu, I arrive in his office, and all of his people are sitting along the edge of the office. I come in, we say hello, and we're supposed to have this call with the funder in Geneva. And they say, oh, if Dr. Anu sends his regrets, he's going to be late. He says to start without you. And I'm like, no way, this is a power move. Like this is not on. He needs to be here. And I'm thinking, I don't know these people. I don't know the culture. I don't know, right? Anything. So I said, I had to think on my feet, and I looked around the room and I said, I appreciate that Dr. Anu's been held up, and it's really critical that he's here. The funder's expecting that. And his computer's connected to the big screen with his password, so we can't get in anyways. Right? I was really on my feet. So they frantically message, like they're very stressed at this point. They're messaging and they say, okay, he's arriving. He rushes in and he's like all polite and smile and, you know. And so he got himself connected, and I thought, this is it. Like, this is the conversation that is going to either get me into his teams and allow me to finish this work successfully or not. So I reflected his language. I reflected his body language. I used a ton of agreement frames. I used a ton of language patterns, you know, intentions and consequences, and these things that I now know to use, and that I now know have names. I've always used them. And by the end of it, he was like, this is really very good, Ms. Newell. Yes. Okay, you need to meet with these people and these people and these people. I had all my meetings, Tegan. Everything went flawlessly the 2 weeks. And at the end of the project, I get this email from him just complimenting how well it all went. And so when you asked for a high stakes one, that was the thing that came to mind, because I really intentionally applied all of this to navigate through it with very, very little context. I wasn't even in my own country.
Yeah. And those cultural norms can be really intimidating because we want to be respectful.
Yeah. And
is a lot of this neuro-linguistic programming, or are there what you just naturally do, how you naturally communicate, or are there other names for the things that you just do?
So some of it is neuro-linguistic programming, NLP, and the subset of that, which is sleight of mouth, which are really persuasion techniques. I think the ambulance is going home now. Sorry, I hear it again. So those are language patterns that you can use that are persuasive. And so, for example, as an IT person, nobody understands it. How do you use metaphors? Right? I'm the queen of metaphors. I will come up with, baking cakes to get all the ingredients together to make something make sense to somebody. And so all of those techniques were ones that I've used. I've also adapted conflict management, which isn't. Sorry, I'm just gonna wait till that passes so it doesn't distract. Or can you hear me okay?
Let's wait till it passes, and we will all say a prayer for whichever one of your neighbors that has something serious going on right now.
Exactly.
I think using metaphors is fantastic. I am not the most creative person when it comes for it, and I always get analogies wrong. Like, you hit the goal, and they're like, it's not a goal, it's a touchdown or something. And then, I don't know, it kind of breaks the ice a little bit.
Yeah, so metaphors are very powerful. Consequences and thoughtfully, if you use an agreement frame and then explain, what's the impact of this on somebody, and you do that well, then all of a sudden it helps them understand why you're coming.
Yeah, I'm on your side, though. What's in it for me, and well, what will happen, to you.
And then where NLP wasn't necessarily designed for it is really that conflict management and those really difficult conversations. And so I break,
Can we role play some?
Yeah.
Okay. I think this is on right now, and probably ladies that the ladies who are tuning in, I know for a fact, some of them aren't happy with where they're at, which is why I'm really glad we're streaming on Facebook and YouTube too, so people can confidentially watch this and not raise any red flags with like showing that they showed up to something on LinkedIn. So the conflict that you're talking about that NLP doesn't exactly cover, but is so important for women, especially in leadership roles. Hear this all the time. What does a woman say if she hears something like, "You're overreacting"?
When you had me thinking on that, and you know, my initial feeling was just this, oh, like I felt it in my whole body, and that's important. So, metaphor moment. When you get that gut feeling, trust it. There are 100 million neurons in your gut. It's your second brain. It just doesn't have a cortex to put words on. So trust your gut. And when you get that feeling in your body, the metaphor that I use is like having the, you know, tire pressure low light come on in the car. It's not you. It doesn't own you. You don't need to deal with it instantly. You can take a deep breath and recognize that that is a signal that something's wrong.
Yeah.
So then if somebody says you are overreacting, and why do you feel that way? The reason you feel that way is you're being attacked. Like they're not talking about you're behaving in you know, a way that's blowing this out of proportion. They're saying you are is some of the most powerful words. I am, when I say I am this or I am that, those are commands to our subconscious to become that way. So they are accusing you of being a certain way rather than doing something.
They feel a little bit like fighting words.
They're fighting words, right? So you can, if you're caught off guard, so there's a whole part about preparing for difficult conversations.
Yeah.
In this case, if you're caught off guard are you overreacting? Where my brain went was there's one of three options. Option one is, oh, I really was overreacting. Like I probably shouldn't have been bawling my eyes out and going through 73 layers of tissues, you know, and that comes to your own emotional management. I'll park that because I don't think that's a situation we're trying to deal with. And if it is, then that's something to consider. Like you do need to understand how to manage your emotions and when and how to display them and when and how to share them. That's one piece. So let's assume you're not, and it's just an attack, right? And the gut is saying we've been there, alarm, sirens. Then you can ask a question, you know, like either this person has a good intention and just they're a crap communicator, they're attacking you, or they don't have a good intention and they're kind of a toxic person. And there's a real bifurcation. I have a whole course on dealing with toxic people because it's a completely different animal than normal situations. Most people have good intentions and just bad manners.
Yeah, so, let's just give people the benefit of the doubt that we're all showing up doing our best. And as the leader, we need to take ownership of boundaries and being clear on how we're going to be treated and how we're going to communicate as a team.
So I think you can call them out, right? Like if they're saying, you can call them out in one of two ways. You can either call them out directly and say, what do you mean? Like, hey, I hear you say I'm acting in a disproportionate way. So I've just changed the word, right? And I've changed it from being to behaving.
Okay.
You know, I'm acting in a disproportionate way is a lot different from I'm overreacting. Mm-hmm. Or I'm an overreactor, which is the implication, right? So you're saying I'm acting in a disproportionate way. What do you mean by that? And then let them explain.
Yeah.
Right. Let them come back on that. Another thing is you can kind of own it, like go, you know, divas win around here. And like, that was from Eliza Von Court's Women's Guide to Claiming Space. And I loved it. I'm like, yeah, just, you can kind of step in and own it. They aren't expecting either of those.
Yeah.
And so you'll push them off guard and then you'll be able to have a real conversation. Right.
Okay. All right. So learning something. What about this one? Let's not make this emotional.
So, factoid tidbit. This is the nerdy me. All right. The top performing leadership now is high empathy, high compassion, low ego, high EQ. So we are all emotional all the time. Chances are whoever's saying that is in the middle of being emotional.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of the same thing. Like, let's not make this so emotional. I would get at, well, that either wasn't not what I'm intending. To me, we're talking about fact, and it's a very important subject, and maybe that's why you're sensing that I'm coming across quite forcefully on it. What do you mean by let's not make it emotional? Where are you coming from? You know, like, I think you can push back with a lot of questions and call them out. The tricky part is that part where your gut goes like this and your mind goes, you go into fight, flight, or freeze. And you just got to remember, hey, it's just a tire pressure low warning light. I can take a couple deep breaths and ask the question. Don't accept the attack. Recognize it's an attack, and then don't accept it.
A lot of us women do freeze. And so for those of us who freeze or goes blank, right? When like we're put on the spot, what's a strategy or maybe like a mental reframe or response that she can keep in the back of her pocket to stay grounded and to stay feeling powerful when somebody's saying like you're being difficult when really it's just, well, I have an alternative viewpoint.
So it's called an amygdala hijack, and the amygdala is part of one of the oldest part of our brains, and it's the part that detects danger. So it can't tell that that's not a saber-toothed tiger in front of you. As far as it's concerned, you are in a life-threatening situation. You have to get out. Now, as bad as it may be, in the office is probably not a life-threatening situation, but your entire body is reacting that way. So the oxygen is going to your muscles so you can run, your heart rate's up, your blood pressure's up. Well, the hippocampus, which forms memories, and sorry, I'm getting into a bit of brain science, but just 3.
I'll nerd out with you all day long.
And so the hippocampus that forms memory shuts down, and the neocortex, which rationalizes and helps you think, shuts down because they're not getting the oxygen, because the oxygen is going to your legs so you can run, you know. And so the most important thing is you can take some deep breaths, right? Get that oxygen flowing again, and slow deep breaths. They don't have to notice. If you need to excuse yourself to get a glass of water and do it there, that's fine, right? If you're on a Zoom and you can turn off your video, a really good thing, because it's your entire vagus nerve that you want to re-enable, right? That's gonna calm you down. You can't be calm and disturbed at the same time, right? So anything that you can do, like even just motions like this that are going to, or head rolls that are going to go across the body, or, you know, those kinds of motions. You don't want to look like you're wringing your hands in a meeting, but, you know, anything subtle that you can just kind of do that to soothe yourself will help your memories come back. So your mind's not blank anymore, and help your thinking brain come back so you can make some rational arguments. And it doesn't have to.
What I do is like, I can feel my shoulders tensing, and I'll like, all right.
Exactly. Exactly. Right. So
Matt, you
those
have
work
gone
super well.
through so many powerful language techniques and strategies for women to use, and that was just in 30 minutes. I cannot wait until your 3-part, like you have a 3-day Rise and Be Recognized workshop. Remind me, when is that?
Starts on the 23rd, so a week from Monday.
Hey, that's my birthday.
Yeah, it's gonna be Monday. Is it?
Yes, next
week.
Hey, wow. So for all of you tuning in, I've got all kinds of goodie giveaways going out to my email subscribers, and my LinkedIn is going to get a couple of my LinkedIn followers is going to get a couple of them. But I got a lot coming at you in my email, and this will be one of them, is an invitation to Rise and Be Recognized. Tell me a little bit about who's it for, what people can learn. They got a little taste of it today. I can't wait to go through the full thing.
So Rise and Be Recognized, it's communication mastery for women leaders. So it's oriented to women leaders and aspiring leaders. And we go through breaking down exactly why are we perceived as too direct, and why are we so darn people pleasing, right? We deconstruct all that, and then we get some very useful techniques and useful strategies in place so that you walk away going, okay, I know what I need to do to be a confident communicator, to be a mistress of boundaries, to be on that path to becoming the trusted leader that people are going, oh, I'm thinking of her, right? Yeah. And so it's really that's those starting strategies to help with that. I do a live demo of the agreement frame in the second session. So
I can't wait.
Yeah, it's loads of fun, right?
Okay, so before I let you go, and I know we're a little over, sorry. Before I let you go, end this for me. What do you wish more women knew about their voice, their presence, and their power, especially in rooms that try to shrink them?
I think the power is the one that's so important. When you stand in your power, then all the other part, you won't shrink and your voice will be heard. And so it can be a chicken and egg, because if you're not feeling it and you're not feeling confident and you're kind of shrinking, then you won't be heard, and then you're not going to feel powerful. So you almost just expand your, chest appropriately, expand your chest and go in with knowing that I am enough. Like, I'm worthy. I can make this work. I have the solutions. I can learn the solutions if I don't have them. These are things that I can learn and be present, own it. Imposter syndrome is just a symptom that you're on the right track.
I love
you're taking on a good challenge.
That's gonna be my quote when I recap this for my email list. All right, Sima. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. I feel like I could have nerded out with you all day on how our brain works, and more importantly, how to use how humans' brain works to show up as a better leader, to find more fulfillment in our careers, and get out of this loop and take on some of that ownership of, well, there are things that we can do differently, because we can't control how other people behave, but we can control ourselves. And if we show up with some additional tools in our toolbox, our careers can be that much more rewarding. So thank you for giving us that gift today. For everyone else tuning in, I will be back next week talking about how to land a job in the UK, which is totally different than what I normally do. But I'm super excited to tap in to all the friends over the pond, ironically enough, right before 4th of July. And we're going to be spilling even more tea. But yeah, Sima, thank you so much. What are the dates again? What are the 3 dates? The 23rd?
23rd, 25th, 27th.
Awesome.
Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And starting in 10 days.
In the comments. I'm going to get the link in the comments so you can go ahead and register as well. Thank you so much for joining. And
thank you so much.
See you all next week.